Okay, next job coming onto this side of the bike is to remove this footrest. I'm fairly sure this is going to need rechroming, and that simply is held on by these three bolts here. And on the other side, the Z plate, the threads were stripped, so I'm hoping they're okay on this side. It feels pretty solid. And then, having removed that, we'll see about getting the Z plate off. I don't really need to remove the Z plate on this side, but if I can, I will, just so I can check everything's okay and clean everything. But it's getting this bolt off here. There's a nightmare because you need to get behind it to hold the nut, and the chain is in the way, and the chain guard and so on. I know it's a bit of a nightmare, the swinging arm, but we'll see. Anyway, I'll take this off, and then I'll have a look and see about getting the Z plate off as well. The foot peg, footrest. I couldn't actually get the actual bar out that holds the. That is an interference fit. It's a taper fit in the actual footrest sort of arm. I couldn't get it out, so what I've done is I've heated it a lot, which is why you can probably see it's still smoking. I don't know if you can just catch that on the video. It's just beginning to stop smoking now. It's very hot. Yeah. Okay. It's smoking away there. I don't know if it's picking it up. Yeah, so that was absolutely sort of like welded in. It would not come out at all. So I heated it a bit, and it still wouldn't move. So then I heated it and gave it, really, really hot, and then the arm virtually just fell out. So heat is always your friend on this. Okay, yeah, I cut. I used a Stanley knife. I've literally just cut the old footrest off. Interestingly enough, the actual peg that the rubber goes on, that was covered with insulating tape, obviously just to try and get that to fit and to grip tightly. But I had cut that off obviously when I was heating the this up. But yeah, a lot of heat makes such a difference, and then that just fell out. Having a look at the footrest now, you can see it's got some quite deep. The chrome's gone. I can't recover that, so I think there's a few bits back here, the kickstart and both the foot sort of foot peg arms, whatever they're called, to go to be re-chromed. Right, a couple of things. I've checked these threads, and they do appear to be UNC, so that's coarse as opposed to UNF. So most bolts that go into a nut, they're UNF, United something fine. I can never remember. But bolts that go into alloy, they're UNC, United whatever, coarse. So it's much coarser thread, because obviously it's going into soft metal, and so you want a nice coarse thread to grip and stop or try and stop the thread from stripping. So generally all casing bolts are UNC, whereas any nut that's on that goes to itself, as it were, goes on the end of a bolt, is UNF. So these will all be UNF, whereas all these will be UNC. So I'm fairly sure these are UNC. I think it's 18 threads per inch. Right, okay, anyway, I've changed plan again. It's so awkward trying to get this Z plate off. So I thought then I'd take the chain guard off, but then it's so awkward getting the chain guard off with the wheel in the way. I thought, right, well, I've got to take the rear wheel off anyway, because we're going to fit a new rear tyre. So I'm going to alter the order that we do things in. So I'm going to take the rear wheel off now, so then I can take the chain guard off, and then I can take the Z plate off. Phew. Obviously these bikes were designed to work on. No comment. So yeah, so the next thing I'm going to do is to remove the rear wheel, which involves, in our case, removing the rear caliper as well, because obviously on a Mark III you've got rear disc brake, I think this is the only model that had the rear disc brake. And they also moved the front disc brake, which appeared on the Mark IIA, was it? I don't know. But they appeared earlier, but they were on the right. And then for the Mark III, they moved them to the left. I've heard various sort of reasons for this. I think the most common one is that the most likely one is that it sort of balances the brakes. You know, that the rear disc is on the right and so the front disc is on the left. I've heard that, well, what happened was they used to get a lot of mud and that thrown up into the disc, so they moved them. But I can't understand that, because it would be just as much mud surely if it was on that side. So I'm not sure. That's what I'm thinking. Right, there's someone at the door. So I'll get ready to set up to remove this rear wheel. Right, getting ready to fit the rear wheel, and I turned the chain around looking for the split link, and in so doing I've found this link here that's rusted, and it's rusted solid. I don't know how well you can see this, but it's got like a kink, yeah, where it's rusted because the actual rollers are rusted. This has probably been on top of the gearbox or gearbox sprocket or something like that. So it looks like we're going to need a rear chain, because these links, you know, they won't move. They're really rusted solid, and so I might be able to free them up, but you know, I don't think it would be a good idea to reuse that chain. You can see the links have rusted there, so you see the chain's not straight. And the other thing I found is that this hasn't got a horseshoe split link in it, just to make my life easy. Not it's there we are. It's had a permanent link inserted, so I'll have to get the chain. I've got a chain splitter, and we'll have to remove that link with the chain splitter. So it's not actually a horseshoe link. So we'll do that, but it looks like we're going to need a new rear chain anyway, unfortunately. Obviously it's low mileage, but it's rusted, and so you know, I think definitely change it. Right, getting ready to split the rear chain, and I have my chain splitting tool here, although for some reason I seem to have two. I probably bought one forgetting I already have one. So it's quite simple. The idea is you open it like that, and these jaws here, they fit behind the sort of outer link, and then you've got this pin here that when you then screw this in, that's the end of the pin, and that pushes on the link pin, and then the jaws, by pushing that pin in, the jaws will pull that outer plate off. So in theory it should be pretty straightforward. Okay, so that's the tool in position. You might just be able to see the pin is pushing on like the link pin there. And so all I'm going to do is, I can't do it one-handed, but basically just going to turn this, and that will push on the pin, and it will serve, and as it pushes that pin in, this outer plate should come loose. And so I'll loosen this side of the link, then I'll move it over and do the pin on this side of the link bit by bit, and then that outer plate should just come off. Right, yeah, that worked really well. Good old tool worked as it should, and I just pushed the pins in with the tool, and that's pushed the outer plate off. And so now all I need to do is, I might need to, no, it should be okay. I just need to get you so you can see it. Sorry, I'm looking what I'm doing. Just push the back of the pin out there. I don't think I can do it one-handed now, and there might be a bit of a burr on the end of the pin, so you know, it might, that's why I might just use the tool again just to push that through, just to get rid of any burring on the edge, and then that link will come out. Hurrah! Right, that's it. So the pin's out and the chain's apart, and then just as I've removed it, when I've taken it out, I found out that it is a horseshoe split. You know, it's got a split pin. but for some reason it's fitted with a pin on the inside, so I couldn't see it. I assumed it was a you know, a sealed bin. You know, you sometimes get them where you you know, you flatten the ends over with a special tool, so I assume that's what it was. But no, it is actually a proper split pin, but it's fitted with the you know, on the inside, so I hadn't noticed. Why to fit it on the inside, I don't know. There must be some kind of reason, but I can't think of it. So there you go. Right, so I'm going to carry on getting ready for the rear wheel removal, but I'm actually going to leave the chain in situ. I'm not going to pull it off because I'm trying to think, but they can be a nightmare putting a new chain on the gearbox sprocket. You know, you've got to try and get to the end of the gearbox sprocket and hook the chain on it to get it to go round, and it can be a nightmare trying to reach in there. So the easiest thing to do is, when you get a new chain, is just sort of like join it onto the end using the old split link. Just join it onto the end of the old chain and use the old chain to pull the new chain round. So until I can see what the access is like in there, I'm going to leave the chain on at least, and then if there is bad access, I'll just leave the chain sitting there. It's a bit annoying. We'll just sit back here somewhere until we get the new chain and we can feed that on. Okay.